Welcome from my side. I'm very happy to see so many of you here, and it's a great pleasure for us to welcome you and to see your interest in our programs in artificial intelligence. We are very happy that we are able to offer these programs now in Bregenz as well. We have been offering them for a short time, actually, in both Linz, of course, which is our home base, but also in Vienna. And based on our experiences from offering these programs in Vienna, and also, of course, based on what we have learned during the very unfortunate Corona pandemic, we believe it's possible to also offer these in Bregenz. It is important for us to see these not as completely distance programs. So yes, they are mostly taught in distance, but we only offer them in Linz, in Bregenz, and in Vienna, because this is where we have home bases. We have of course, our main university campus in Linz, and we have very nice bases in Vienna and in Bregenz. And we do believe, and we have seen during the Corona pandemic, that studying completely in isolation is not an easy thing to do. That means it is important that at least for some aspects of your program, you come together. You come together in a classroom setting, or maybe even in a coffee shop or restaurant afterwards, to find your study mates, to talk to them, to talk about the content, and to build a group that also supports you and that helps you to study together. And therefore, it is important for us not to see this as a complete distance program, but to see this as a program which we deliver in one of our locations. Yes, you can do a lot of it from home as well, but it is important that there is also a physical component and some part of it which you do in Bregenz, and for some aspects that you might also visit Linz. The artificial intelligence program for us is really one of our biggest success stories, I have to say. The study program is very, very unique. It's one of the first program actually in Europe. And we are really at the forefront of research in artificial intelligence. We have some of the best minds, for example, Sepp Hochreiter in this field. And we believe that at the university, it is important that we do teach the things that we also do research on. So this should really be an integration of research, teaching, and of course, the underlying practice. So we are very happy that we can offer this program, and we feel that we are uniquely positioned as a university due to our human resources and great professors to do so. We also believe it's a success story because of the great students and because of the relevance of that program. Nowadays, I believe you can't open a newspaper or watch any news channel without hearing about artificial intelligence, about data being the new gold. And we believe that indeed artificial intelligence is one of the cornerstones of digital transformation and of the future and that's what makes this program, I think, so relevant for many people in a lot of fields, because the applications of artificial intelligence range from software products, recommendations in your streaming service, for example. It ranges to transportation, self-driving cars, or a planning of transportation and public transport. It ranges to medicine and all kind of medical related products and services, their planning, their prediction. So it's an enormous amount of applications for artificial intelligence. And we believe this makes it one of the cornerstones of also company practice for the future. And it has to be and has to become. I'm sure you have also heard about drawbacks or potential concerns about artificial intelligence and its use, for example, for unemployment, and whether unemployed people are properly consulted, for example. Also, this is not really artificial intelligence. It's something that very basic algorithms that are in use there, if they even are in use. But it is true that there is always the concern about what is artificial intelligence used for. And we are aware of that. And at JKU, we always try to think about technology and new technologies in a holistic way, which means we also incorporate discussions about the ethical issues, how artificial intelligence can be or should be embedded into the society and the work practice of people. So we believe that you have to think about technology or bundles of technology also in that way. And we are very happy that we have been able to incorporate that into our program. I'm sure Johannes Kovler will tell you more about these aspects as well, but I wanted to highlight it because for me, it's also something that is very important. We have tried to make this program very accessible in the sense that, for example, there are specially designed math courses for this program. It's not a regular math course that, for example, all engineering students take, because we believe that such a program has to be open to everybody. It has to be open to everybody, no matter which high school or type of high school in Austria you come from. So we took special care that also, of course, it's a demanding program. It requires that you deal with mathematics, statistics, that it is easily accessible also for people who do not come from any specialized high school, for example. And that is very important for us. And we really believe that this is one of the biggest assets. So overall, I'm very happy that you're interested in this program. We believe that delivering this program also in Bregenz is the right step. I think there will be people really interested in it. We believe it is relevant for the region. We believe it's relevant for the companies there, to who we know and we always hear also very much looking for graduates of programs that are related to math, computer science, and especially artificial intelligence. So we believe there is really also a demand from companies for graduates from such a program. So overall, we really do hope that you will join this program. We would be very happy to welcome you in this program, and of course, becoming, even if you are located in Bregenz, a member of Johannes Kepler University at Linz. So far for a very quick introduction, and now I'm very happy to welcome Johannes Kovler, who is the person that knows really most about this program, and I'm happy to hand over to him so that he presents some more details about the program. So again, thank you and have fun with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor Koch. This was already an extremely good introduction. You already mentioned almost all of the important bullet points I also want to cover. Thank you very much. So without much further ado, let me share my slides. I hope you can see them. And let me hide my okay, there we are. So I hope this is visible. Okay, so what is the outline of this presentation now for a good half an hour or so? I want to tell you what artificial intelligence actually is. So we will look at its definition. We will see that it is a very interdisciplinary subject. We will also quickly discuss its impact on society and economy in a broader sense. And then I also want to tell you about some novel modern applications of the last years, especially in the field of deep learning, which really has cool things to show. So I want to highlight some of these things. And then in the second part, we will discuss the study program that we offer. We will talk about general information regarding the bachelor's and master's program. I will talk a little bit about the distance learning setup that we have in place, where after myself, Niklas Schmiedinger, a master student, will give you his inside perspective from the student's perspective, so to say. Of course, we will also have a look at the study plans, and we will discuss the qualification profile and also the admission criteria, which are probably especially interesting for those of you that are interested in the master's program. Okay, so what is artificial intelligence? Some people say there is no general definition possible, and indeed there have been going on several definitions, and what I show here is a kind of consensus in the research. And here it says that artificial intelligence refers to the ability of machines to perform cognitive tasks that we commonly associate with human intelligence. And now you can see that now it splits up because these tasks are multiple. There's perception, learning, logical reasoning, planning, everything that has to do with speech and language processing, and then also taking action. So this goes to the field of robotics. So you can already see there that this is a very broad definition. Another thought experiment definition of what intelligence might be is due to Alan Turing. So he's one of the founding fathers of computer science. I guess that many of you have heard about him. And back in the 1950s, he proposed a thought experiment where how you could judge that the machine can mimic intelligence. And it's really simple. You have a wall, and on one side you have a human, and the human interacts on the other side of the wall with either a machine or a human. And both the machine and the human say that they are human. So the machine wants to pretend to be a human. And if the human on the other side cannot distinguish on whether he or she is interacting with a machine or a human, then the machine has passed the Turing test. And of course, we do not have any robots yet that pass the Turing test. You go there and immediately with your naked eyes, you can see it in a second that something is some plastic or metal and not a human. But when it comes to specific tasks, machines can mimic intelligence and even have superhuman performance and can outperform us. So the Turing test can be passed in specific tasks. And one such task, for instance, is paintings. So here you see some pictures on the bottom right that are all computer generated. And they have passed the test in the sense that at the Art Basel a couple of years ago, they passed the test from a human jury. So they were voted as top-notch paintings that could have been from humans. And similar, there are many other tasks where machines are on par with us or can outperform us. So again, a view on this interdisciplinarity. AI relates to many fields of science and is composed itself of many subdisciplines. AI, of course, strongly relates to computer science. In some sense, it's a subfield of computer science. It strongly relates to mathematics, as this is the main ingredient and language we are using. It relates to biology because of the whole field of bioinformatics and AI in life sciences. And then we, of course, also have these other directions into the fields of psychology, sociology, philosophy, when it comes to the theory of mind and so on. And in itself, as we have seen in the previous slides, AI is composed of many subdisciplines. There's knowledge representation and reasoning. There's natural language processing, planning, then towards the field of robotics when it's about taking actions. And then we have the subdisciplines of neural networks and machine learning, where we have a heavy focus here in Linz. So this shows somehow the subdisciplines AI is composed of. And another notion I want to clarify here is the distinction between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. So AI is this broad field that dates back already to the 1950s, when Arthur Samuel programmed IBM PCs that played checkers against each other, and the perceptron, the first artificial neuron was implemented, or the first rudimentary chatbot of Joseph Weizenbaum, and many other things. And then in the 1980s, a subdiscipline emerged, machine learning, where really the learning aspect was put an emphasis on. And there was the breakthrough of the first optical character recognition, spam filters, these already learning algorithms. Also the genomics research in the 90s was heavily based on machine learning, and also the Google search algorithm from the beginning of these years. And then what I now want to put an emphasis on, about 10 years ago, really the deep learning revolution started. So there we were able to train deeper neural networks. So there's now a subdiscipline of machine learning, and all the modern image, text, voice, music, video recognition and processing, all the efforts, or the vast majority of efforts towards autonomous driving, and also other recent progress when it comes to board games or multiplayer computer games, the whole field of reinforcement learning. This is all the aspects and achievements of the field of deep learning. And what made it possible? Why 10 years ago? Why so new? Because the basic algorithms we have since the 80s, 90s, but it was really fast computers and large data sets that make this possible. So in particular, graphical processing units and huge amount of nicely labeled data sets. This is what made the deep learning revolution possible. And as a kind of analogy, if you want electricity out of the socket in your wall, you need a resource for that, oil or gas or solar or wind or whatever. You need a resource for that power. And it's very similar with modern artificial intelligence. So in the United States, modern artificial intelligence is almost equated with machine learning and deep learning. And there, the resource is fast computers and data, data, data. And as Professor Koch mentioned in his introductory words, there are challenges to our society and also to our legal system, how we deal with such algorithms, because what we feed in may bias what comes out. So great stuff in, great stuff out, garbage in, garbage out, in some sense when it comes to training the neural networks. So the data is important and it's the resource of AI, and it's also important to use good or correct data, which has been gotten rid of biases, for instance. We believe that AI will be omnipresent in our society, economy, and industry, and we can already now see that it pervades commercial applications through various sectors. Of course, all of you are aware that information technology is a huge factor. All the speech and image recognition or translation software you use in your smartphones, your home pods and assistants or whatever, they are all based on deep learning. But also when it comes to manufacturing and supply chains, artificial intelligence helps to optimize production processes and delivery processes. When it comes to medicine and healthcare, AI can help us to make diagnosis. And also in drug design, it can help us to predict candidates for future medicines. So this is a huge market and lots of things are going on there. When it comes to education, publishing, marketing, but also financial and legal services, there's this whole field of recommender systems that are classically AI, but that can also combine with very modern AI techniques. And as I mentioned already, almost every day in the media, when it comes to self-driving, autonomous driving, this is a huge industry, cars and trucks, of course. All the modern approaches are deep learning driven. So, I mean, Google started maybe 10 or 15 years ago with standard approaches, but it's simply impossible to hard code all possible circumstances on the road. You really have to train neural networks and let them learn on their own, like we do with humans. If you make your driver's license, nobody looks into your brain and sees the program structure that you stop at the red light, but you are simply trained to do so. You behave like this and it will be fine. One slide here on the impact on the economy. So this is now a 5-year-old slide. I quickly tried to Google a newer one today. I didn't really succeed. And what I saw is still unchanged. So here we have, and it doesn't really matter whether you look at Accenture or McKinsey or whomever. The prediction is that in the next 1 or 2 decades, the question whether we can incorporate artificial intelligence in our industry and economy is of utmost importance for the development of the country. So for instance, in a country like Austria or Germany, without adoption of AI, the predicted growth rate per year is about 1.5%. And so if we miss this train, so to say, but if we take the train and are on the forefront of what's going on, we can double our growth rate. And if you take that over 10 or 20 years, it's really the wealth of nations that depends on how much we can incorporate this topic into our society, economy, and industry. So really of high importance how we as a society deal with this opportunity and challenge. I want to have now a quick word just for you to get the feeling of how deep learning works. Of course, there's no time to explain it, but the important thing is machine learning and deep learning is not about hard coding programs. It's not about if this, then that, if this, then that, but it's really about having an empty blueprint, big neural network where neurons are connected with each other with millions of parameters. And then step by step in very little instances, you train the network. So for instance, you feed it pictures, thousands, millions of pictures. The network makes a prediction. And being it true, the correct or wrong prediction, there's a feedback. So you then tell the network whether the prediction was correct or wrong. And therefore it's trained step by step. So the feedback is used with the gradient. So there's a mathematical term. But the takeaway message here is that with these deep networks, we are able to really then solve very difficult tasks. Image recognition is one such task, but for instance, you can use that for diagnosing whether a picture shows skin cancer or just a normal mole. And this can be done on par with specialists. And the thing is that designing these networks, training the networks, and this is in general true for all modern AI techniques, we need people like you. We need well-trained researchers. There's still lots of stuff going on here. This costs time and money, creativity, having the right architecture, finding new things, and so on and so forth. So designing good networks and training them, this is a tough problem. Once you have trained it and invested the money, then it's very fast. Once you have a trained network, you can run through data very fast. And there's one video I like to show because I really find it beautiful in some sense. It's an app from AI Poly, and it's an app for blind people. And they trained this app with more than 2 billion images and can recognize 5,000 objects. And you can have that on your smartphone and use it in real time. So you don't need any big computing power anymore. You needed the big computing power for training the network, not for using it. And there's not enough time to show the whole video, but I want to show you maybe half a minute or so. And it's also not clear whether I assume this works very well. But what you will see here is now people going around with the app, and the app tells them in real time what is seen. And you can see that this works fast and well.
Patio, chairs, cup, pot, cup, coffee cup.
Pepsi, cherry, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. Trash bin.
You are looking at a new Apple earbuds.
Hey, wow, that is all right. That sounds good.
Okay, a bit of product placement there as well, apparently. But you can see that this is a bit like magic. And then I want to tell you about some very recent developments in the field of modern AI. One are so-called generative adversarial networks. Probably you have heard about them in the media already. And this is actually really new. They were invented like 7 years ago or so. And there the aim is that you have two deep neural networks that play against each other. It's a very clever idea. One network is the generator or the faker, and it tries to produce something or fake something. For instance, a picture of a human face. And then there's another network, the discriminator or the referee, and this network tries to get better at finding out whether a presented picture is a real photo or computer generated. So the generator tries to fake images and the discriminator tries to distinguish between real and fake. And both get better and better because they play against each other. So for instance, if you look at these 8 faces here, you can take a close look and ask yourself who of these people are real, what are real photos, and which of these pictures are computer generated. And maybe you make up your mind and maybe commit that one or the other picture is for sure fake or real. And before I solve that, I want to say that this is somewhat reminiscent to what Arthur Samuel did many decades ago when he let 2 machines play against each other and thereby learn. So I hope you have made up your mind. The solution here is that all pictures are fake. It's a bit like with the paintings on the first slide. These are all computer generated. And this is a couple of years ago, and this works pretty well. Meanwhile, you can do this with videos and in much other tasks. So you can use this generative adversarial networks to change pictures into photos, to change summer into landscapes, to change the style of a photograph into several painting styles, and so on and so forth. So this is a booming field, these generative networks. Another important field that, of course, we also cover in the curriculum is reinforcement learning. And this is a very general setup where agents that have a certain policy of making actions in the world interact with the environment, and from the environment they get a reward, a punishment. A negative reward would be punishment. And by interacting with their environment and getting these rewards, they change their policies of action and learn. And in some sense, this is close to how we humans work. In a very rudimentary sense, if you see how a baby learns, and this is more or less how it goes. And for instance, you can throw a drone into the air, and it has to learn to stabilize itself. And whenever it crashes, the reward was negative. And whenever it manages to wiggle around and not crash, it did well. And it will, by throwing it multiple times, it will learn well to stabilize itself nicely and efficiently. And similarly, this can be done with computer games, board games, autonomous driving, and so on. And one of these big success stories I want to tell you, because it really has taken the whole community by surprise like 5 years ago. It was really a big thing. So maybe there are some people a bit older that are interested for the masters or so as old as me, and they might remember that back in the 90s, chess was solved by brute force programming. So Garry Kasparov lost to Deep Blue in 1997. And this was a hard-coded, IBM-engineered, database-driven brute force program that simply outperformed the best human, which is amazing because chess is an extremely complicated game. However, if you, for instance, look at the game of Go, it has even simpler rules, but much higher complexity. So Go is astronomically more complex than chess. And if you're a medium well player, maybe some of you play Go, if you're a medium well player and play a couple of months, you will be on par with normal computer programs, but not with modern AI algorithms. Because if you use a deep neural network to position value the board, then there is no chance. And it was in 2017 that AlphaGo by DeepMind, so the daughter company of Google, has beaten the best player, Coetzee, at that time. And since then, this is game over for us humans. We will never, ever again win in Go because our day has only 24 hours. We need to sleep. We only get like of the order of 100 years old, and we cannot start earlier. Maybe now Go players start with 3 years age, and they started like with 5 years age a couple of decades ago, but we cannot become exponentially better. And it's even worse now. Now there is AlphaZero, which is an engine that only starts with the rules and it plays against itself. In 3 days, it has grandmaster level. And in 3 weeks, it outperforms the best human there ever was. And from then on, the sky is the limit. So these architectures are so general and broad now that you only feed in the rules, let it play against each other. It will learn, it will train deep neural network and reinforcement learning and outperform the best human player that invested, his whole life or her whole life in achieving a special degree of strength. So this, in some sense, this is sad, of course, if you're a Go enthusiast, maybe, but it's also extremely fascinating that this is possible. And last but not least, this is the last slide about these modern AI developments. I want to talk about AlphaFold because also it was a kind of revolution in the community and a big thing. And this is just 2 months old or so. Maybe also you have seen it in the newspapers. Those of you that are interested in chemistry and biology will know that protein folding is one of the big holy grail grand challenges for decades. So you know that we have this genetic information is read, and then a protein is built in our cells. And the question is, how will the protein look like in 3-dimensional space? So the sequence of nucleotides is clear, But how does it really look like? That's a tough optimization problem, and there is no answer, and certainly no formula or closed solution for this. And for decades, people were trying to make prediction and engineer this. But the best possible algorithms over many decades of evolution only got like a 40% making the correct prediction. And then DeepMind threw deep learning onto the problem like 3 or 4 years ago. And within this time frame, they completely left the scale. And this year, AlphaFold 2, it's called, can make close to 90% accuracy in predicting how the protein looks like. So here you can see that green is how it really looks like, the protein, and blue is the prediction. And this is just one more such amazing feat of what modern AI can do. I want to close this first part of the talk before we come to the study program by this utopist or dystopic view on the future. So how far are we away from really humans being outperformed completely by? How far are we away from Star Trek, Star Wars, Terminator, Asimov, robot, whatever scenario? And there the answer is, we do not know that at all. This is the so-called question about artificial intelligence, general intelligence, or strong AI, starke KI. And this would be a hypothetical machine with a behavior at least as skillful and flexible as we humans are. And we don't know that. We don't even know whether we are close to having the right algorithms and architectures. Strong AI could be away 10 years, it could be away 100 years. It depends on whom you ask, and nobody knows. However, what we do know is that regarding computing power, we are close. So it's not the computing power that will limit us. So if you look at this graph here on the bottom left, then note that this is a logarithmic graph. So we have on the horizontal.
Hallo, wir scheinen ein technisches Problem zu haben.
I think his internet connection just left us for a second, but I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Mr. Schmiedinger, do you have the presentation as well with you?
Johannes' presentation?
Yeah.
I do not.
Okay. Otherwise, I could have tried to continue at least a bit. Because also I'm currently at Vice Rector of Academic Affairs. My background is actually in business information systems. So I'm professor in that area. So I sometimes also teach data analytics or some similar aspects, which means I'm not too far away from that field. And it is also a good explanation why I believe this is such an important topic. Maybe in the meantime, I can take one question. I think there was one question that says, that was asking how the program deals with the very strong amount of innovation and change in that field, if I understood that correctly. And indeed, that is one of the reasons why I was talking about being on the forefront of research in the beginning, because at the end, that is what is necessary to be able to deliver a program that is very current and relevant. As probably also Mr. Schmiedinger can attest to, for example, in your bachelor thesis, in your master thesis, you're in many cases really working on current research topics, which means that this is an area where we really try to keep this very up to date. Of course, due to legal reasons, we can't change the study program, the so-called curriculum, every 5 minutes, which is why we generally try to use titles for the classes that are relatively stable, because supervised learning, for example, or machine learning, these are not specific algorithms, for example. So these are really fields of research that are being taught there. These are how should I say, terms for a huge amount of different algorithms. So despite keeping the name and the basic description of such a topic, it is possible to always take new research results and new algorithms and new results from research directly into the classroom. Okay, I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I dropped out.
Yes, we noticed I tried to keep everybody a little bit entertained, and I was asking the question about how this is keeping current by being involved with research, and also, of course, by having general titles for the classes where you can do new results and new developments as well. But I'm going to directly hand back over to you.
When did I drop out? What was the last that was heard? Did you still see the...
Maybe open up the presentation again. I'll try to tell you.
Doris?
Yeah.
This one.
Where should I join in again? When did I get kicked out?
This was
the.
Okay.
It's here.
Then I continue. Okay, so here the main. No, it doesn't. I somehow now I'm not able to make. Okay, so for the sake of not crashing again, please allow me to keep the slides like that. It doesn't allow me to enter the. Oh no. Okay. But sorry, some computer problems here. Okay, so this slide was about just this science fiction view. How far are we away from it? Regarding computing power, we are not far away from the human brain estimate. So this is probably not our limiting factor towards a strong AI. The big question is, are we intelligent enough to engineer and design such a thing? And this is a completely open question and an extremely fascinating one. So if you think about where is humanity in 100 years or in 500 years, this question will play an important role. Okay, now let's dive into our study programs of artificial intelligence here at JKU. And Vice Rector Koch said many important bullet points already in his introduction, but I want to still go through them again. So both of our programs, Bachelor and Master, are very new. We started them simultaneously in October 2019. So that means that our first students are now in their 4th semester. And Niklas Spielinger, who will talk right after me, is such a student. So he was in the first cohort, so to say. We do not have any access restriction for our curricula in the sense that you have to pass a test like in medicine curriculum or something like that. So we only have the most general formal criteria, for instance, for the bachelor, a school leaving exam, Matura. We were the first AI program in Austria, and think we still are the only dedicated modern AI program. And we were really also among the first modern AI programs in Europe. So now there's stuff going on, and there were already great programs maybe in the Netherlands and Scotland and so on. But still on the European landscape, that the university like Linz was able to pull that off was indeed quite a success story. And as Professor Koch said, due to nice circumstances, we have top-notch researchers here on which this curriculum can rest. So we fully teach in English. It's really 100%. It was a goal in the beginning, and it was really possible to do this. So everything is in English. Our curriculum is largely available via distance learning. I will talk about that more in the next slides. And we are a technical program. We will see that later on the study plan. So there's lots of computer science and lots of mathematics and lots of statistics in it. But we do have this wider scope that also Vice Rector Koch mentioned at the beginning. We are interested in the so-called subject of AI and society. And both in our bachelor's and master's program, we have a subject consisting of several courses where we deal with sociological and legal questions. And so the interplay of artificial and society with the social and legal sciences. We believe that this is a vital ingredient to look a bit beyond the purely technical scope. Our bachelor's program is in the sense standard that it's 6 semesters and 180 credits. And you will see it's fundamentally interdisciplinary. So we have a basic solid education in computer science, especially the programming, of course, and mathematics. And then we have the core AI subjects. We will look at them at the study plan in a couple of minutes. And our master's program is 4 semesters, 120 credits, where we have a deep focus then on deep learning and where you can choose between elective tracks. I will mention them later as well. Regarding distance learning and enrollment. So our study is our curriculum is a regular curriculum here at Linz. So for everyone that lives close to Linz, we are a normal curriculum. So if it wasn't for Corona, and Corona will hopefully be gone next winter term, all our courses are in lecture halls. You can interact with the teachers. It's a curriculum like anyone else here, anyone else here in Linz. However, from the very beginning, even before the Corona pandemic, it was the decision of the rectorate that the AI curriculum should largely be available via distance learning. And also from our first semester on, we had it available in the Fernstudienzentrum Satellite Campus in Vienna. And due to Corona, our distance learning offer was extremely pushed. So Corona made it necessary for then almost all teachers to switch a bit their style and more go online. So we started off with maybe like 70% covered distance learning type. And now in some sense, I would say we are close to 100%. And what's not 100%, I will discuss now. But what does it mean? It means that our course contents are basically available online. And this at least means that lecture notes or slides that are used in the lecture are online. However, also, practically all courses are live streamed to your end devices and or to the satellite campus, to the Seminarraum in Bregenz in Vienna. And they can also be, then they are available for at least 2 weeks in Moodle. This is our teaching platform. Most courses have their videos then available for the whole semester. So it's not only distance learning in the sense that you can join in live, but especially for lectures, but also for many other courses. You can look at the videos at the time of your choosing. So it's especially convenient for people that have some, I don't know, taking care of children duty or even a job next to your master studies. Exercises always allow online participation. So there is a physical group in Linz in the lecture hall. And but there will always be an online group that allows online submission, and they might demand virtual presence. So it might be that it's demanded that at this and that time you need to log in and go to the virtual blackboard, so to say. But it's possible to do it from home. Our exams now are all online almost all online due to the Corona pandemic. But I guess that regarding exams, many teachers will go back to the old style. So I can talk for myself that teaching online style is okay. And I have adapted to that myself with the start of this curriculum. But online exams are a bit tedious. So I guess that we will go back partially to real written exams, as do other distance learning studies. So even centers like Hagenberg and so on have the exam weeks. So in our case, that means that usual written exams take place in the lecture hall in Linz, but you can also go to the satellite campus in Vienna and now also to Bregenz. You go to the seminar room there. There will be a person taking care of the exam. They will hand out the paper. You will do the exam, hand it in and go home, and they will scan it or mail it to us, to Linz, and then we will correct it. So these exams can be done nicely if you live in or close to Bregenz or Vienna. What is the number of required days of physical presence at Johannes Kepler University? Now, except the exams, okay? So you have required presence days in Bregenz when it comes to exams. But how often do you really have to go to Linz? And there the answer is really, it's very few. It's just a couple of days in total. So maybe on average, you have to come once per semester really here for maybe a special presentation in a course that demands it. Of course, for your bachelor's defense, maybe for getting some hardware equipment in some specialized master's course, it has to be physically taken from here. So there are some exceptions, but really, as a rule of thumb, it's just a couple of days that you would really have to come to Linz when you now decide to study in Bregenz. Of course, to the seminar room in Bregenz, you have to go quite often for your exams, especially at the end of the term in January and in June. So more information on this distance learning setup and how well or not well that works will be given to you by Niklas Schmiedinger right after my talk. Regarding enrollment, this is now online as well, and it will probably remain online. And if not, the enrollment is also probably doable without coming to JKU. So either there's a full online situation possible or with mailing. And if not, we hope that it can be done in Bregenz and they do the checking of your documents. That should especially be true for the simple cases, like having an Austrian or European school living exam, having a European bachelor's degree for the master curriculum. So we cannot promise that to 100% to all of you, but very likely not even for the enrollment, you would have to come to JKU. Regarding this enrollment criteria, and if you have special questions, I gave the web address and the email of the admission service. Okay, let's move on to the bachelor's program. So it consists of several subjects, and this is the study plan. So of course, I don't have the time now to go through the study plan in complete detail, but let's get maybe a feeling for it. So we have these subjects, like for instance, AI basics and practical work. Here you will write in the first semester, type into hands-on AI course where with already prepared stuff, you can immediately play around with interesting artificial intelligence applications. And this will go on then in the second semester, and later there will be a seminar and practical work preparing you for your bachelor thesis. When it comes to our AI and society, we have a lecture series that covers a broad variety of topics with speakers from both Linz and outside. And we have courses such as responsible AI and technology and society that cover this interplay between artificial intelligence and the social sciences. Regarding computer science, you will get a detailed education in the language of Python, which is the main and standard language used in artificial intelligence. And of course, also algorithms and data structures, which is a standard course in a computer science curriculum. Then there's this big chunk of data science subject, which are closely related or belong to artificial intelligence. You will learn about statistics, visual analytics, learning from user-generated data, computational statistics, and also natural language processing and digital processing. Then we have our, in some sense, math, not math, but very math-related formal courses like logic, formal models, and computational logics. And we also have, of course, courses on machine learning and perception, where you will learn about these generative networks, about the reinforcement learning, and unsupervised techniques and so on. So this is the main focus on the machine learning and perception part within the topic of artificial intelligence. And last but not least, we have, of course, a very solid education in mathematics. As Professor Koch mentioned in the beginning, we really started this also from scratch. It was really designed for us in some sense by the mathematicians and didactic people here at Johannes Kepler University. It's fully in English. And it's a 3-part series on calculus and linear algebra. And it's in the volume, it's on the level of maybe physicists and electrical engineers and so on. So you do not learn as much mathematics as in a mathematics curriculum, of course, but quite a lot. So more than in a standard computer science curriculum, for instance. So you should like mathematics and you should like programming, or you should soon learn to like it. So this covers roughly the bachelor's program and what is our qualification profile and the admission. Admission I mentioned already, you need a matura, a school leaving exam, or something equivalent. I think called differently in some other country, but something like that. We believe that we, in the bachelor program, offer broad and balanced foundational education in mathematics and computer science. But then we have all this specialized training in the core subjects of artificial intelligence, in machine learning, in data science, in knowledge representation and reasoning, in natural language processing, and others. So all the stuff related to, and more, what I talked in the first part. Students will also learn about the broader ethical implications and this interplay between artificial intelligence and society in our subjects, AI and society. We designed the program with a primary focus on systematic problem solving. So we want you really to become analytical problem solvers. We want to promote social competences, at least partially in some courses with teamwork. And very importantly, in the 4th, 5th, 6th semester seminar, practical work and bachelor thesis, we hope that we allow you to get the practical training that allows you to get the skills which are relevant to your later careers. Because what is the whole bachelor's program for? Of course, we have a twofold goal, and we need to cover these two pillars. One is, many of you will go on to some subsequent master's studies, maybe in AI, maybe in some other field. But those that want to leave after the bachelor into the job market, our goal is, and I am confident that we can deliver, is that you are ready for an immediate entry into the job market where you are able to develop AI solutions in various sectors of industry and economy with the basic knowledge we will teach you. With this, I come to the master's program. There are 4 elective tracks. Let me back up here. So you will get a very deep, unintended education in deep learning and machine learning and perception again. And then you also have to choose between 4 elective tracks. 2 of the tracks are in mechatronics. One is in a more formal math-related field, knowledge representation reasoning, and one is towards AI and life sciences. And here again, we can't go through the study plan in the last bit, but let's, for instance, look here at the master's program in our first track, AI and mechatronics, in the robotics and autonomous systems. So elective track programs are here in this 4th line. But the first line here is, this is true for all master students. So all master students will get a very deep education in computer vision, in deep learning, including recurrent neural nets and long short-term memories. This is in every smartphone, you have it. And deep reinforcement learning, probabilistic models, explainable AI. So a very heavy focus on the extremely modern developments in the field of deep learning and in general machine learning and perception. Then we have our AI and society subjects again, where we have courses on the relationship between artificial intelligence and law. So this covers all from data protection, impact onto the labor rights, criminal law, what happens if an autonomous car crashes, and so on and so forth. And in AI and society and robopsychology and communicating AI, we have this interplay between AI and the social sciences. So here, social and legal sciences. In the seminar and practical work in the 3rd semester, this is for preparing you for your master thesis. And then coming to the tracks. In the robotics and autonomous systems tracks, where this is exactly, what you see is what you get. You get the foundational education in robotic systems, control systems, and autonomous systems. So this is when you're interested in that field, then this is the elective track you choose. If you're more interested in embedded intelligence and signal processing, so maybe radar technology or optimal and adaptive systems or pervasive computing, so where you embed small AI pieces, small AI hardware into systems, then this is the track you should go to. In the first track, it's more about production plants and larger things, to say, vehicles and so on. And there we have courses towards these directions. In our elective track reasoning and knowledge representation, this is for the people that don't have an inclination towards mechatronics and also not have an inclination towards life science, but maybe more forward thinking, maybe coming from physics or mathematics or computer science field. Then this is the track you might like because it focuses on the fields of automated reasoning, knowledge representation and learning, planning, and model checking. So these symbolic AI, classical AI type, and more formal fields. And in our track AI and life sciences, this is a very free track because in the first term, we believe you should cover your own gaps in biochemistry, molecular biochemistry, and so on. And there you will learn the basics of AI, life sciences, transcriptomics, structural bioinformatics, and so on. What's the qualification of our master's program? Well, it's a very thorough education in the modern developments in AI, especially deep learning. You will again require the practical training, for especially preparation for your master's thesis. You will learn about the connections of AI to our legal system and sociological implications. Then there are these 4 elective tracks where you have to choose one of them. I've mentioned them. And these tracks we have designed really to make use of the existing infrastructure. Here we have at JKU. We have a very strong mechatronics engineering department, and also the local industry here in Upper Austria is very strong. So, and since we somehow believe that, we do not believe that in Linz we will make the next Google or Apple or so on, but we believe that we can educate people towards really this, there's this bullet word here of digitalization or industrialization 4.0. But what does it really mean? It means bringing data and artificial intelligence into our industry. And therefore we have these mechatronics tracks. And we had a bioinformatics curriculum, and we have a biophysics department and so on. And therefore we have this AI and life science tracks. And of course, what's the goal of a master curriculum? The goal is to prepare you for either subsequent PhD studies. For some of you will choose that path, and the others, of course, for immediate entry into the job market, where we believe that you will be well prepared to offer AI solutions to whatever company you want to go to. Last but not least, regarding the admission. So those of you that have joined in here today and are interested in joining our master's program, the question will pop up: can I join? What do I have to do to join? Is my bachelor's degree okay? And the answer is as follows. We have a very simple rule system here. I believe it can't be even much simpler. There are 3 categories in which you can fall. First category, you have a bachelor degree in artificial intelligence. Very unlikely. But we had one such case coming from, I don't know, Scotland or Dutch university, I don't know. And then, of course, there are no admissions conditions. If you have a bachelor in AI, you can make a master's in AI. Most of the people that joined our master's program have a related technical bachelor's degree. At our university, it would be informatics, it would be computer science, physics, mechatronics, natural sciences and technology, business economics, bioinformatics, and something like that. And whatever equivalent degree you have, we will admit you to our master's program, and all we will demand of you is that within our master's program, within the 120 ECTS, you make 9 credits, which we consider vital as a preparation. This is the supervised and unsupervised techniques and some statistics course. If you have a statistics course, we will cut that away again, and then it's only 6 credits you have to make. So you can right away dive in, and of course, very early you should do these courses, but you can do them within your Wahlpflichtfächer, area of specialization, or your free electives, Freiwahlfächer. So we believe that this is a very low bar and easy entrance. And we believe that people at that stage are grown up then to fill their own gaps at their own pace and are able to catch up if they want. If you have another bachelor degree, which is not the technical science, so if you have a bachelor degree in economy, where you have some math maybe or so on, then it's still likely that we will grant you admission, but you will get up to 40 additional ECTS points. So then your curriculum will have towards 160 credits, and we will give you computer science courses, mathematics courses, and so on. And in these cases, you have to count that your master's program will take you 6 semesters and not 4. But even that entrance is in many cases open. Okay, I am at the end of my talk. For further information regarding the curriculum, the study plan, also many other information that I have covered or not covered. Of course, we have a web page that offers a lot in that regard. These web pages exist in English and German. I have put the German links here because the English are too long, but it's much easier that you just Google AI, JKU, Bachelor, AI, JKU, Master. It will be the first hit, and then you go there, and down on the top right, you can switch to English in case you open the German one. And for all other questions that we maybe are not able to cover in the Q&A that now comes, you can write us an email either to the AI office or to myself regarding the Bregenz question. Of course, Doris will be available. So don't be afraid to contact us in one way or the other if something remains open. Okay, then that was it from my side. Thank you very much for your patience and listening in. I will now stop sharing my screen and hand over to Niklas, who will give you the inside perspective of a master student studying in Vienna.
Johannes, we have a few questions in the chat. Do you want to take them now or after my talk?
After your talk.
After my talk. Okay. Can you see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how I found the distance learning at JKU, and I'll give you just like a bit of a student's perspective. But first, maybe let's start with my personal background. So originally I'm from Schwarzenberg in Bregenzer Wald. So only for this reason, I think it's very cool that JKU is kind of extending the AI masters and bachelors to Vorarlberg. And yeah, but I did not study in Vorarlberg. I myself studied for my bachelor's degree here in Vienna, and I'm coming from a computer science background. And then I started in winter 2019 at JKU as part of the first cohort of the students in this new AI master's program. Currently, I'm also working at the JKU lab here in Vienna, and there we are working on deep learning for digital histopathology. And I know some things about the distance learning because I actually spent the majority of my studies here in Vienna and occasionally also for like shorter trips to Vorarlberg. So here's a brief overview of what I'm going to talk about. So first, I will repeat what Johannes already said about how distance learning at the JKU works, like what does a normal day look like. Then I will give a short overview of personal highlights, like what did I like about it. And when I started studying in the distance mode, I had some concerns, and I want to talk about those and talk about how JKU addresses them. And finally, some concluding statements. So as Johannes already mentioned, so it usually works like this, that you watch the lectures live at the distance learning center. So you just go there like you would to a normal university, in a normal university setting. And then you just watch together with other students the lecture being live streamed on a big screen. And if you have a question, you raise your hand and someone will pass you a microphone. And you can ask with the microphone, and in Linz, the lecturer will hear you and will, of course, answer your question. Alternatively, you can also just ask questions via chat, and usually someone will pick them up. And alternatively, you can also stream the lectures remotely. So you don't always have to go to the distance learning center, but you can just stream them live there, ask questions via chat, and interact with the lecturers in that way. And what is very convenient, especially if you're working, is that usually the lectures are recorded. This is true for like most of the courses, or basically all the core curriculum courses, and they can be viewed either for the entirety of the semester or just a few weeks after the lecture has ended. And this really depends on who is giving the lecture. But I found for most courses recordings are available, which is great. And exams, at least pre-COVID, were written at the Distance Learning Center. And during COVID, we of course wrote all those exams online, but I assume you will have to go there to your Distance Learning Center to write the exams. And occasionally we have to do presentations for courses, and they usually work like this, that you either give them online, depending on the course, or you go to the Distance Learning Center where you are filmed and streamed to Linz. And for exercises, like when you have to do practical assignments and so on, often these groups are chosen randomly, and this is then comprised of just students from both Linz and Vienna. And so you just collaborate online, and this worked really well. So what are some personal highlights of mine? So I think distance learning, it's great for work-life balance. It makes it like really easy to integrate the studies into your life, whether you're a full-time student or you're already working. And like if you live close to Vienna, Linz, or Bregenz, like it's because it's the same studies, there is no real hard choice required. So you can study while in Vienna, then you can go to Bregenz if you feel like that. And I think this is really cool because it like really connects like three very like different cities, and I think this is like gives you a lot of flexibility. And for many courses, I found that attendance is not strictly mandatory. So if you have to work on a day and you cannot attend live, then I usually just watch the lecture right after work. And so this gives also like a lot of flexibility to you. And what I found is that the distance learning enables really connections beyond your study location. So I met people from Linz as well, people from Vienna. And I think this gives you like a colorful mix of very different backgrounds and experiences. And this is like even more amplified through the distance learning. Okay, so there are a few concerns that I had before I started the distance learning studies. So first I thought probably I won't be interacting with students that much, and there won't be like a lot of serendipity in the sense of meeting people randomly in the hallways and discussing ideas and so on. And but I found this not to be the case with how JKU set up the distance learning program, because I think this is really like a hybrid approach with the distance learning centers, and they really act as a meeting point where we get to know local students. So you go there, and it's just like if you go to university, there are like people, they are watching the lectures together, they are discussing the ideas. Furthermore, there are learning rooms offered at the distance center, at least in Vienna, and we also meet there and talk about the studies and everything. And as I already mentioned, the exercises, they usually involve mixed teams. So you have often students from Vienna and Linz, and this just gives you another opportunity to connect with like other students. And then there are, of course, also like digital solutions. So we have like some Discord servers. For example, there is like a very broad one where we just discuss lectures and stuff like this. And then there are like more focused ones. For example, we have like a reinforcement learning service that is run by some PhD students, and we are discussing papers and we are sharing insights and projects. And so this is also fun to work together with people from Linz and Vienna together. Then another fear I had was that I thought there won't be interactions with professors and lecturers. But I also found that like how the system is set up, this fear is like really not a valid one. So I think there is like a multiple communication channels to interact with lecturers. First, the the distance learning is not passive. So it's like really an active process. You go there and you ask questions via a microphone. So you're interacting with the lecturers directly. So this I found always great. And after the lectures, usually a course has a forum set up, and you can just ask questions there in the forum and via email. And in my experience, the lecturers at JKU, they were very eager to help you with any problem you have. You just need to be proactive. You email them or you write them in the forum, and usually they will help you out. And I found this was really great. So the other fear was a bit like, is it like not the real study? Is it like, it's a distance version? Is it like a separate one? And how will this be valued by employers? I was thinking, what are the degrees we're getting? Do we get like a distance learning certificate or so? But in fact, this is like courses are exactly the same. It's like the identical degree. So we all get the same masters, we all attend the same courses, we get the same lecture materials. And it's just that students some are sitting in Vienna, some are sitting in Linz, and now some will be sitting in Vorarlberg. And they are all watching the same lectures live. And there's really no distinction between local and remote students, besides that they're in different cities. And at least for the perceived difference in opportunity for distance versus local students, I think there is none, at least in my circle. So I have colleagues, they work at university. I have colleagues that work at startups or large companies, and they did either study in Linz or they studied here. And I did not like feel any difference in that sense. So another thing that I was concerned about in the beginning was, what about like technical difficulties? Will there be like no recordings or no distance learning mode for some lectures, or will the lectures be low quality with like jaggy videos or laggy live streams? And I think also with this, the JKU did a very good job. So the lectures are all very high quality. So when the lectures are recorded, the lecturer always uses a microphone, and the videos are nicely edited afterwards. So if, for example, if live in the lecturer walks to the blackboard and starts drawing, there's actually a person sitting there on a camera and switching it, making sure that like the entire view is visible for the viewers live in Vienna or in Vorarlberg. And when the lecturer goes back to slide view, then everything matches perfectly and the videos are edited usually. So the only criticism I have there is that some like niche elective courses, they are not offered online, at least yet. For example, I'm doing life science. And if you then take some electives that are not in the core curriculum, they are of course only offered in Linz, but I also found it's possible to do them because often they just have an exam in the end, and then I would just learn from the slides and then in the end go to Linz for one exam. But what is really important is that all the core curriculum courses, they are really offered online. I did basically my entire master's here in Vienna and never had problems with any like courses that I could not access or so. Yeah. And I found that the technicians were super helpful at the JKU. They would always like, if we would have some like connection issue, they would like immediately help out. And I felt JKU is very open for feedback. So in the beginning, when there were like some rough edges, like we just gave feedback, and I felt like they were like improving from day one. And now I think everything is very, very, very solid. So some concluding words. I think the study gives you like very high degree of flexibility. First, with respect to location, you can basically mix and match between those cities. And also throughout day-to-day studies, like it's very accommodating. If you're working, like you usually have the recordings and you can just watch those later if you cannot attend directly. And I think it's very great that it's like the same curriculum and same degree as the students that are sitting and learning in Linz. And the distance centers, they really serve as a great meeting point. So this is where you can make new local connections, where you meet basically the local crowd. And but it's cool to also have like digital places that connect you to like Vorarlberg and Linz and all those other cities. And I think this works really well and is very interesting compared to the classical university setting, which I had before. And I feel like it has been like a very great experience viewing the lectures and also interacting with the live lectures. And yeah, I think that's it from my side. Thank you very much.